Is your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends. It is Wednesday, 8:30. We're about 50 hours away from 8:30 Friday night. The weekend is in sight. It is Wednesday. We are over the hump day, and another match day looms large. Does it matter as much as it did this time last week? Only you can tell me. I have got the league table, as always, to start the Wednesday night show. I will come to that very, very shortly. But first of all, let me just tell you how great it is to be with you to discuss football. Nobody in this house is talking to me. I had to drop a bombshell earlier that I might have to spend some money in the summer. And, well, nobody's talked to me since. So I'm hoping you'll be a lot more chatty than people in my house. Welcome one, welcome all. We have got Ant Still, Jeremy Lowe, Matt Stanholt, all in the chat already. Lee Brown says, COVID in the bin. Firmly, Lee. I hope you're well. Hope you're doing okay. I know it's a bit rife out there at the moment. We've got Colin the Goat. Yes, evening, Lee. See you at Shrewsbury, the Away Day Beers Company. We are not far from the official weekend with Away Day Beers. We've got Sarah in the room. Colin, evening, Jeremy and Gov. So how are we then? Are we looking forward to the weekend? Does it mean as much? Here is our league table to kick us off on a Wednesday night. Obviously, there was a couple of games played last night. So, Wickham played 41-72. Same games as us, but as you can see, considerably more points than us. Is it now sayonara to the playoffs? Is it que sera, sera? We are going to Shrewsbury, but is it a case of que sera, sera? We're going to Shrewsbury again next year. Is it over? We touched on it Monday. Then last night's results, has that now firmly shut the door? I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting what Tux thinks, what Curtis thinks. And as always on a Wednesday, we have got an On This Day. And it is a great On This Day that I can bring to you today. Now, this is only available if you watch us live, because after the show, I edit it out for obvious reasons. So if you're watching live, this is a nice little, Easter egg if you like. But on this day, who remembers, and after this video is played, I will bring in Tuxford, see if he remembers this moment. Who remembers Carlos Edwards at Derby? Let's see what he's got for us. Here he goes. I'm not going to play the commentary because that will get me doubly in trouble. But this is 8 years ago on this day that Carlos Edwards' stunning goal, claims Ipswich Town's YouTube team at the time, against Derby. Here it is, Tux. Be ready because you're coming in the... Boom. Have a bit of that, son. Carlos Edwards away at Derby. Who remembers it? Tux, welcome in.
Hello, you all right?
Were you there? Do you remember that moment?
I wasn't there, but I do remember the moment. I think it was under Mick McCarthy, wasn't it? I think it was his first half season, I believe, in charge. So
the Great Escape,
yeah,
wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I think it just pretty much kept us up. So, yeah, it was a very good goal in the end, and actually quite a good servant to us in the end. I think he had a bit of a tricky start to his career with us, but yeah, went on to be quite a good servant, good captain as well. So, yeah.
Would you firmly put him as one of the best Roy Keane signings from that time?
Yeah, I think he's probably one of Roy Keane's better signings, yeah. And he did make quite a few horrendous signings, put it like that.
He did. Thomas Priskin.
But yeah,
good evening.
Decent signing. But yeah, Priskin was one of them. Lee Martin, I could not stand Lee Martin. Awful player.
Lee Martin.
Yeah.
Great little chant there. But no, my father-in-law is a Watford fan, still takes the mick about the Thomas Priskin deal, if I'm honest. It was a lot of money for a player that delivered next to nothing, apart from the Arsenal goal, really.
Yeah.
I wasn't at that Derby game, but I remember the goal like it was yesterday. I was round of friends with the Don, who's on the platform. We were doing the Jeff Stelling Soccer Saturday drinking game. And he went, there's been a late goal at Pride Park, but to who? And obviously you all go, because it's so desperation times, and it shows. It must have been not a Saturday because I think it showed the goal, or we saw the goal afterwards. But I will never seen a goal go in the back of the net that I've loved so much than the one that I think that goal saved us. That was the one that got us safe, in my opinion, and it meant so much that day.
When I think about that season, I think the standout moments was McCarthy coming in to kind of essentially save that season. But I remember we had quite a good run in, and like players like Carlos Edwards really stepped up to the plate for me in that season. But yeah, it was one of them seasons where, for me, it always lives sort of like long in the memory for sort of bad but also good reasons, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you were busy in Monday night's show's chat. We've got a lot of talking points from that I want to get through with you, and we will get through that in the next 40 to 60 minutes, I'm absolutely sure. But another on this day that I want to bring in Curtis about was this time last year. We drew 0-0, Tux, with Rochdale. Do you remember that one? The Oliver Rathbone game where he was head and shoulders the best player on the pitch.
I mean, 0-0s don't really live long in the memory, if I'm honest.
But that one does. Let's be honest.
But that one, I do kind of remember that one. There was a lot of games like that, though, even if they were 0-0 or draws or whatever they were, especially under kind of Lambert as well. You know, so many kind of like stalemate games where we just didn't turn up whatsoever. So,
we really didn't. 0-0 away at Rochdale in a playoff chasing game. Here is our northern correspondent. Some call him Mr. Happy. I just called him the artist. It is Curtis Yates. Curtis, how are you?
All right, chaps.
I mentioned the Rochdale game because we have come so far in just 12 months, haven't we? That was a standout game for the wrong reasons. 0-0. Their player, they went down in the end, Kurt, Rochdale. Their player was the best player on the pitch. We were dire. I brought it up really to just show the transformation of how far we've come.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if you compare the heat map from that game there to very recent games, you'll see a lot of red zones in the middle of that game because I really can't remember. It's memorable in the fact that it was so bad. It's not memorable in the fact that it was a really entertaining 0-0. But yeah, it's chalk and cheese to what it was like a year ago. So. Yeah, I'm just so glad that is let's say a distant memory. It's one that's at the forefront of our minds, but it is very much a distant memory in terms of this team now. But yeah, I never want to ever see a game like that again.
That was the sort of the bottoming out, Tux, if you like. That was sort of us really sort of hitting the bottom, and then we've now on that way back up because I look at the stats from that game. 50-50 possession. Now, bear in mind, Rochdale got relegated in this year. They had two. We had 5 shots. We didn't have a single shot on target. They finished bottom of the table, Rochdale, with 33 points. Yeah. That was rock bottom, wasn't that? That was us bottoming out, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was around that time when kind of Blue Action brought out their campaign of sort of Evans out.
They set fire to
so. But generally that was the point where fans really had lost it with Evans.
So.
And it's remarkable in terms of how the club is off the pitch now, how far we've kind of come from that. Because you just got to look at the stadium. Really, I keep saying it a lot on this channel, but look at the stadium, kind of the passion that Mark Ashton has for the community. That was completely non-existent under Evans. So, off the pitch, I think we've come such a long way, and we're sort of getting to that point now on the pitch where we're a much better team. We actually look like a bit more ambitious. So, especially looking to the summer, we're not going to be raiding the bargain bin anymore, are we? We're going to be looking at kind of good players coming in, spending some money, hopefully, and just sort of tightening up, certain areas of the pitch, I think.
Absolutely. Only one player. Technically 2, if you include Caden Jackson, Curtis, survived from that game. The lineup that day was Holy in goal, Wolfenden, Enciala Chambers, Edwards Dazelle, Bishop Ward, the flying winger Stephen Wood, Alan Judge, Caden Jackson, and Troy Parrott. I mean, I bring it up and we're talking about it because when you're looking at that league table I showed at the start of the show, and it's looking negative, it's looking sad, frustrated, not make the playoffs. And you're right, it is not a great season to not make the playoffs. But in just 12 little months, we have come from a team that's got no hope to a team that's very well and truly on the up. With I think the Junior Blue memberships are sold out. They announced today. This club's going places again, Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, the club only did what every single fan realised themselves. They got rid of the deadwood, and we didn't just have deadwood. We had rot. We had mold. It was rough, and a lot of those players, like you had some fans who was making excuses for a lot of them, but realistically, a lot of the fan base knew the team we had in general was just not cut for this league, as proven via Colchester United's season. That they're not League One players that we had. We were trying our best to be a League One side, which sounds so pathetic as an Ipswich Town fan. Like, we were trying our best to be a decent League One side with League Two players. Whereas now, whilst it's been a bit of an up and down season, but this second half of the season, it's give us hope. It's give us hope for next season. And as Tuck says there, like, we're looking forward to this summer, whereas we're not going to be scraping around for Rochdale rejects. We're not going to be scraping around for like the players that no one else wants, e.g. Ollie Hawkins, etc. We're not going to be scraping around for them. We'll be looking for decent players who may or may not be available. I don't really think it's an issue if they're not available, to be honest, because I do believe that we'll go in for them regardless. But it's excitement. I think that's what the club has lacked in many years. Years.
Not going for Aaron Drillen, Tux. That's what we're doing. I can assure you of that one. Talking to trying hard, this week's prediction league is now open. We have got 4 games. Shrewsbury versus Town, obviously, is one of them. Colchester versus Stevenage. Cambridge versus Morecambe. And Norwich versus Burnley. Gino says, did I hear correctly? Cambridge, in beating us away, had won 2 away games in a row for the first time since 2001. God, that makes that defeat even worse, says Gino. How badly do you want Morecambe to stuff Cambridge then, Tux? Because they're still, I see on Twitter today, they're still banging on about the game from Saturday.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really bothered. If they call it their derby, that's fine. I couldn't give a shit. If they want to, call it their derby, fine. But we've got next season to worry about now. The game's done. True. Can nothing do about it. So, yeah, sorted.
Very true. Kurt, did you like the shirt that one of their podcasters come up with on Twitter? I see you commented on it.
Oh, it's sad, isn't it? It's just so 4 days on. Like, give it a rest, man. The game clearly meant so much more to you than it did to any of us. Like, as Tuck says there, we're already looking ahead to next season. We couldn't care less. We really couldn't care less. Whereas them, fucking hell, they'll get open top parade out for it. Like, if that's what you want to celebrate, then fair dues. You do your bit, but it's just sad, isn't it? It's just sad.
It is. It is. Away Day Beers Company. If we don't make the playoffs, it could well be a blessing in disguise, allowing Cam a chance to really build for the longer term. Do you agree with that, Tux?
To a certain extent, yeah. I think we could, not just us, but any team that kind of fails to get in the playoffs, that's in the playoffs and then fails to kind of go up, could be a victim of their own success in a way. And I do kind of worry a little bit about some of our better players, the likes of, Burns, maybe Edmondson as well. They've had stellar seasons. So, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if a championship side is not bidding for Wes Burns this season. Just because I don't think there's a better right wing back in this league. Great if he wants to stay, and I hope he does, because he's a quality player and someone we can build the team around. But also, you wouldn't really begrudge him to go to say if Blackburn come in for him or QPR or whoever it might be in the championship, then you'd want to go, wouldn't you? I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say there's 24 championship teams. Mm-hmm. If you take away the top 16 to 20 teams that could look at Wes Burns or one of your players, Curtis, as a real opportunity to take a flyer. Just try a cheeky bid, because the player wants to test himself at the higher level, and rightly so. I would have thought I would want to. And the odds are somebody's going to try and test us this summer, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have unrealistic price estimates regarding how much they'd sell him for, and people will say 4 or 5 million. It's unrealistic. You're not going to get 4 or 5 million for him, unfortunately. I think
McCormack went for 12.
I just can't see it. I just can't see it. I think, but that's not to say that we wouldn't push for as high a
No,
fee as we
true.
can. Like, and that's not to say that I think under old ownership, I think you're talking highest bidder. You possibly would, especially in the position we are. I think you'd have been talking, saying see you later and things like that to him. But I think if you were to put a price estimate on his head, I think you'd be wanting upwards of 2 million, wouldn't you? I think you would. And that's the most nerving thing about it. I think is you've got a player like that who you say there we can kind of base the whole team around, really. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not as worried as some, though. I'm not as worried as some. I do think he's bought into the project a bit, and I think it's one of them. I think in a lot of players' cases, they might just give us one more year, see what we can do, and then move on from there. I think a lot of them have bought into the project that we are building though here. So
I think in a lot of cases, and I can fully see where Tux is coming from with the worry, because a lot of cases, Town fans are conditioned that whenever they get something good, it goes. Because normally it's a loan player that arrives, looks good between January and March, and then disappears again because he's looked good and someone else has taken a punt and we've not, stumped up the cash or whatnot. So I can fully see where Marcus coming from. Yeah, and I'm concerned a little bit. I think he'll stay, but you just never know in football. Nothing's ever set in stone until that window sort of slams shut. There's 3 bits of news coming out of the club I want to bring up before we get into the sort of the Shrewsbury look ahead, etc. First one is which United duo training with Town. I'm not sure if you saw that in the press today, but Charlie Savage and Will Fish apparently spent time with the Blues as part of the Pro Experience program. Now, what Man United do is they get their young players out at lower league clubs for a week or two, sort of work experience, if you like, as opposed to loans. But many fans have said that is a route we will look to be going down. Was that a route you want to go down, Summer Tux, in a year that could be we have to rate the players? Are you happy to see a couple of, be it Man United 18-year-olds arrive as the signings? What do you think?
I think it's probably inevitable we'll probably see some sort of Man United player, a youngster coming through potentially, like on a loan deal. I think the thing I would say is that it's probably going to drum up a lot of people saying, well, what about our own academy then? Because if we're developing other people's youngsters, what happens to ours? What's the point in having the academy, etc., etc.? And
like
the only person,
almost.
Yeah, but the only person that's going to rile that up is Kieran Dyer, and he'll be absolutely pissed off about that. But anyway, generally I think if they're good quality, then yes, they come in, and if they're good enough, they play. In my opinion. So yes, I think it's good that we can take a look at these kind of players. They're at Man United for a reason. So yeah, I welcome that kind of stuff. For me, I don't really care who plays as long as we get to a position next season where we are in those playoffs, or at the very least in the playoffs. So regardless, I don't care who plays for us.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, United players coming in is always a positive move. And
well, like Lee Martin.
Probably, I don't know about that, but good young talent. Put it like that.
Like Lee Barrett.
It's good to see it come through. Not Lee Barrett, no.
We could do this all night, son. We've got such we and you have not got the same taste in players. It's so good. So good. Jason Clayton, he'll be on a good salary split West Burns. And why would you go to an average championship team when you can go to Uppers Division 1 champions? Chris Boyd, sorry. McKenna is our trump card to keep players. They come to play for Cook nonsense is long gone. Graham Tate, how can you build a team with loan players? No way, says Graham Tate. McKenna, Curtis, I'll give you this one as you are Mr. Happy on the platform. McKenna, nominated for Sky Bet League One Manager of the Month. He's in the running alongside Shrewsbury, Steve Cottrell, Wigan's Liam Richardson. You know him, Liam Richardson. He used to be the assistant of Paul Cook, and Stephen Schumacher of Plymouth. Obviously, there's normally a curse that goes with winning it. I mean, I ain't bothered about the curse these days because I mean Jack. But does he deserve it? Have we had a good month? Is he a shoo-in for the win? What do you think of this one?
What was it? It was 3 wins, 2 draws, and 1 goal conceded.
Correct. Yes.
I see no reason why you wouldn't give it in. I see no reason why not. I mean, to be fair, what did he have? 12, 13 games unbeaten in general on our recent run. You know what? He's managed to get the loss before actually getting the award. So maybe that curse has gone. But yeah, I think he deserves it. I think a record like his, I think it deserves some kind of recognition. And without being funny, to concede 1 goal in 5 games, it's no mean feat, is it? So,
Okay.
yeah, I think he deserves recognition for it. Yeah.
Yeah, big time, big time. I think it's something we have to get used to, Tux, because this is a man that could we win in many Manager of the Months, many Manager of the Year awards. I feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, I talk about Wes Burns being a player that's in demand. I mean, he's going to be a manager that's in demand, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah.
If he kind of, keeps up what he's doing, if he has a good start to the season next season, if he's here, then obviously he's going to be a man in demand. You can never say never, though. I mean, you've got to look at a Championship side who might get rid of their manager at the end of the season, want something new, and they think, well, McKenna's done all right so far at Ipswich. He could do wonders here. So you can never write anything off. But yes, I do think he'll probably stay. I think he's committed to the club. But regardless, this time next season, somebody could be in for him. So you never know.
Oh, well, as we just said a second ago, never say never in football. Tux, on Monday's show, I showed a goal from one of our loan players out on loan, Corey Ndaba for Salford. In one word, do you think Corey would be ready to come back and provide credible competition to the back line?
Yeah, I do actually. I think he's been a player that's kind of sort of been on the fringes of the first team. I think it was Paul Lambert said that he was a really good player, and then he kind of went off the ball a little bit. So I think he might have kind of got back into his stride. Certainly, the loan has done him the wonders of good, and it's similar to kind of like what Wolverton had at Salford, where he went on and had a very good kind of loan spell, and I think he'll come back and essentially play for his position really. So I would imagine that Ndaba will come back, be a bit part player, maybe get his chance here and there, and then maybe like a Baggett will go out on loan or something like that. So yeah, I'd welcome him to come back, and I'm quite excited to see how he's come on really, how his game's developed. So yeah.
I noticed on Saturday they were really putting Baggett through his paces.
Yeah, I noticed that. I sat with my mate Carl, and we were looking at it.
Carl Brooks.
Yes, Carl Brooks. Yeah. And we were kind of saying, is he coming on? Is he part of the squad? Because I looked at the team to start off with, and he wasn't on the bench, and I thought it was a bit strange that he was, having the full warm up. I could understand it after the game because they do the kind of the running up the pitch, don't they, after the game? But yeah, I thought it was a bit of a strange one. But yeah, I would like to see a bit more of him. Hopefully before the end of the season, if McKenna wants to give these sort of players a chance, really. So, yeah.
Did you also notice how he's sort of filled out a little bit, and obviously been hitting the weight? Because the last time I saw Elkin, I remember him being a smaller man in stature, but when I saw him putting through the paces, he was tall, he looked strong, he looked almost ready to compete at the senior level, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the whole time I've sort of, a very small part I've sort of seen him. He's always been tall, I think, but he does look like he's sort of bulked up a little bit. And that, I think, comes with anything. If you're going to work under someone like McKenna, he's going to say, well, get in the gym and, build up your strength really for the new season, I think.
I do believe he is not going away with Indonesia. That has been blocked or has been stopped. So maybe there's plans to feature him if the season truly is in the toilet. Craig at Portsmouth looking at their kids. Shola is a very good young United attacking player, ready for a loan move. Big potential. Lee Bayliss, I'm sure McKenna will be backed. And this time we have people in position to get us the quality we need. Carl Brooks, I think a Salford type line would be perfect for Baggett next year. Jason Clayton, we are blessed with some good centre backs. Baggett not allowed to go to international camp to finish season with first team. I mentioned the young players because I've got a video courtesy of Luke Penning's Twitter account. I think he took it from somewhere else of another young player, Tux, in Ben Morris. You remember him scoring a goal out on loan. Here is the goal in question. He's playing wide left, I think Luke said, of a front three. Keeper should do better. This is a player that sort of come onto the scene under Hurst against Forest Green, I think it was, if I remember rightly, in the cup. Yeah. Looked good, done his ACL, disappeared. Can he come back and be a part of the squad? Or do you think his time at the football club is over? What do you think about Ben Morris?
I think it's hard for me to really sort of judge because obviously I've not seen him for a while. I think he's probably a different type of player now from when we last saw him play for Ipswich, and kind of fleeting appearances. But yeah, I mean, I think McKenna probably is the type of manager, and you've seen that with Jackson, where I think any player is welcome back. They're going to get given their chance. How long they'll get given their chance, how much of a pre-season they'll have, I don't know. But if I was a betting man, I wouldn't really say that he's probably got much of a future here. I imagine he'll probably end up like Ben Falami and probably go out elsewhere, maybe play for a League Two side. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think if I had to bet, I don't think he will be, but I do think McKenna might give him a bit of a chance in pre-season, essentially.
Absolutely. We love a bit of opinions on this show. Kurt, he's 22 years of age. He's made 4, for this corner Wikipedia, 4 games for Town, 1 for Woking on loan, 4 for Forest Green. Obviously, now he's playing out on loan for GAIS, which is in Sweden. At 22, he's got to knock on the first team door when he comes back, hasn't he? Really, it's got to be his time to knock that door down because you're becoming a player now, not a young player with potential, I would say.
No, I think he's got a knock on a first team door. I don't think it will be us. Unfortunately, I just think we will be looking for quality up top, and therefore his chances will then be limited. But then again, this is what this loan is for him. I think it's to put himself in the shop window. I don't actually think it's for him to come back and find for a place here. I think it's to put himself in the shop window, like you say. 22 years of age, he needs to kickstart his career. And do what a lot of other players do. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for certain players at certain clubs, and unfortunately, his injury record and his loans that he's had, they've not been prolific. And whether that's been down to injuries that he's had, or whether he's just not been good enough to start games or play games, I'm not sure. I've not really kept up to date with his whole playing history, but I don't think it'll be for us. But if he does well on this loan that he's got, comes back, and it'll be nice to see his career kickstart elsewhere. Because I know Hurst brought him in, and he got a few rave reviews at the time, but he's never kicked on for one reason or another. So no, I think it's one of them. I think he will be moving on, just plainly because we'll be looking for better quality up front, and I don't think we'll be taking as many chances next year, because I think it really is do or die next year, really.
I mention it, Tux, because as Trevor rightfully says here, you got Indaba 22, Mizzen Harple, and Ben Morris is 22, is why I bring the age up. You're going to be in that Miles Kenlock sort of category, aren't you? Where you're too old to fly under the radar. But are you quite good enough to make the impression?
Yeah, well, I mean, just because they come from our academy doesn't mean, they should have a chance. They've got to earn their chance, really. And yeah, I mean, you look at kind of players like, Simpson there, you look at El Mazzuni, Kenlock and players like that. Are they good enough? You could probably say the jury's still out about Simpson because he's come back from a fairly decent loan spell. But, for me, El Mazzuni, Clements, players like that aren't good enough for this club.
I knew you'd say Clements. I knew it.
But he is not good enough. I'm sorry. But, you've got to look at, the players that, who are trying to knock on the door of the first team. You can't continue to go with like what Kurt said earlier, like Deadwood or, just players that aren't good enough for this league, good enough for Ipswich Town. I'm sorry, but what have either of those two really done in the time? Yeah, okay, Clements has only just come on the scene, but like someone like El Mazzuni, how long do you fulfill your potential? There's, the guy is nearly 21, 22, what the hell he is, and you get to a stage where you think, right, well, as a footballer, where is my future going to be? For me, I don't understand where El Mazzuni's position is. He's not a central midfielder. At best, he's probably a number 10. And you look at the current number 10s we've got on the payroll at the moment, he's not going to get in ahead of any of those. So that's where I'll be looking at it. And I think, well, I get the whole full quota stuff as well, where you've got to have a certain amount of academy graduates and all that sort of stuff. But they've also got to be good enough.
Absolutely.
This is the point I come back to. So I just don't think at the moment we are producing that kind of, especially in the latter sort of years, we haven't produced. And then, you've got Kieran Dyer saying that, you've got Humphreys coming through, other players like that, then give them their chance. If they're good enough, let them have their chance, let them have a good pre-season. get them out on loan maybe or something like that, but keep a couple of them here that actually deserve to be here, really.
Okay, absolutely. Talking of players that want to be here, get a few comments first. Lee Bayliss, I think players like Ndaba, Elmiz, Dobra Harper are going to struggle getting next season. Carl, Simpson's ahead of Morris in the pecking order. Morris probably needs to go and find himself a club, unfortunately. Wayne Beers, what's behind the link with Gio? I don't know, actually. I think we did send Harry right there on loan. We've sent a couple of players, I think, on loan there.
Yeah, Aaron Drennan went there, mate. Aaron Drennan.
Fuck off with the Drennan, will you? You love a bit of Aaron Drennan. You'd love him back, wouldn't you?
I'd purely have Aaron Drennan back just to pitch him.
Wind me up.
That is literally the only reason why, because I hated Aaron Drennan when he was here. However, he is scoring goals for Leyton Orient, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Every time he scores, a little piece of me dies inside. A little bit of my own football ego. I think I know the game, and then Drennan goes and I've already lost money for him scoring goals as it is because George bet me he would score, and I was like, no. Oh, I'll get my foot out of my mouth. Lee Bayliss, we're a different club now from where we were 12 months ago. So can you imagine if my first job was talking town hosts with Mark Ashton's new TV station is to interview Aaron Drennan Tux? Can you imagine it?
Well, I was going to ask actually.
I knew
when you said something about you've got money to spend in the summer. Is this because you've now got the deal at Town TV and you've just got money to spend?
Well, no, I haven't got the money. This is where no one's talking to me in the house because it's not my money I'm spending.
Right.
It's
okay.
her money.
Oh, I see.
Right. You see, because we're married, so what's mine is hers, and what's hers is mine. The problem is what she's got is a lot more than what I've got, so it's a one-way street. But we'll talk about that later. Right, talking about one-way streets. Left-hand side, it's been one-way street of negativity and poorness this year. We've got. That didn't really make sense, but we'll go with it. We've got Thompson, we've got Penney, we've got Clements, we've got Kenlock on the books. Now, on Monday night show, Callie made a claim, the king, that he thinks Carl Edwards could be the left wing-back answer. Tux, you didn't seem to agree with that. I want to get your thoughts firsthand. Carl Edwards, is he the answer for left wing-back? What do you think?
Look, all I'm going to say is I love a bit of Callie, right? But he was talking out with Aris the other day. When it comes to Edwards coming as a fullback, I mean the guy can't cross a ball to start off with, right? And you look at kind of like the other side of it, where Wes Burns is a forward-thinking player. Okay, so yes, he's probably not the best defensively, but he can still defend. There's the difference. He's better, offensively than he is defensively. But then you've got, someone on the other side like a Thompson, who is a left back, really. He's not a left wing back, he's a left back. So he's he's better defensively than he is going forward. And we've seen that because he can't cross the ball. And when he has tried, he's tried to fizz it in and it's still not worked. True. So if you're going to play that sort of system, if you're going to play a left wing back, you need to play a player that plays in that position, obviously. But for me, Edwards isn't that. He's a winger. But, I know he comes back and he does defend, to be fair to him, but that doesn't make you a left wing back. You have to be a defender. You have to have that defensive mindset. But yeah, I didn't agree with it in the sense that for me, he's still got a lot to learn in his actual position that he plays at the moment for me. I think he's been okay, showing, moments of brilliance in terms of skill. But, much like Armando Dobra, has absolutely no end product. And for me, that's something he's got to look at in the summer. He's got to be looking at getting on the training field, and you can teach that type of stuff. Ronaldo at his point when he joined United, okay, completely different, but he had all the box of tricks, but then was taught how to cross a ball or find a player and pass the ball. That's generally what these players need. Dobra would be a much better player if he knew how to pass the ball and have an end product. And Edwards falls into that category for me as well. But you can't just stick players at left wing back because they're an attacking threat, because what you're then going to do when you have to defend, that will leave Edmondson out of position. So for me, no. But I do see where he was sort of coming from in terms of that, he's an exciting talent. He's a good player. And where is his best position at the moment? You probably would say a winger, but we're not really playing that type of system for him. So the next probably logical step in many people's heads is to put him at left wing back, but for me, not so.
Did you just put Dobra and Ronaldo in the same sentence?
I might have done, but
You did.
obviously I did, yes, but not to really sort of compare because obviously Dobra's better. So yeah.
I love it. Double down. Is it a tricky position, Kurt, the left wing back position? Because what Tuck said there is probably pretty spot on, particularly with you've got to get defensive minded while attacking. Like Wes Burns is a unicorn, isn't he? Because he can defend marginally okay enough to get by. Okay, a few times he's been at fault for a few goals, and he's great going forward. But he's got the perfect blend. Is it really quite hard to find that player that can do it with an engine to get up and down the pitch as well?
I mean, it's difficult when you're trying to fill a position with a player who, prior to getting injured, was apparently being trained as a right wing back to take over Wesley Burns when he was injured. So it's difficult in that respect that you're trying to basically change someone from being who was a winger to then who was being trained as a right wing back, and then you then wanted him to then go back over to left wing back. So it's difficult in the respect that we're just trying to fill holes with anyone that we can find. Then it's a tough position, especially when you've got someone on the other side producing absolute miracles. It's a tough position, and you're always going to be held to that standard of you need to be better than the other side. You need to be having that constant battle with your other wing back. You need to be better in each other along the way. And unfortunately for me, that side has just been so poor, and I think it's been more focused on just due to how good we were on the right hand side. Unfortunately, I think now that most people have seen that is our weak area, people might bump up the price for certain players in the summer. But it's one of them. I don't like forcing players into positions. We've done it. We've done it with Elmiz. We've tried to put him into positions which don't suit him. And as Tuck said, I'm not sure what his position is. Like these players, just I'll leave it down to the coaches. But for me, this whole discussion of having Edwards at left wing back is null and void because he was being trained as a right wing back prior to getting injured anyway. So it's null and void for me. And I think in the summer you're looking at. I don't think we'll get Thompson, nor do I actually want Thompson. I just think I think that is a very key area in that respect, and I think that whole left side is a very key area to focus on. But no, I
do think Thompson will be here next season. I do think that Brentford have sent him out on loan. He's kind of signed that kind of year extension, but they're looking to sort of get rid of him. And for me, I think McKenna likes him. I think he sees something in him. So unless he's going to kind of change the formation a bit, I don't know. But for me, I would fully back that Thompson's going to be here next season. I don't think he's probably the right choice, especially if we're going to continue to play fullbacks. But yeah, I would expect him to be here next season. But you look at our other left backs. Yeah, that's the reason why Thompson's playing, because all the others are poor, very poor. So you've got to look at players like Kenlock. For me, he's off, isn't he?
He's out of contract.
Yeah, I can't see a way back for him. So
Bailey
these are definitely not.
Definitely not. Matt Stannard in the chat will probably say so. I've got a question about Thompson from Felixstowe Blues, which was raised from Monday's show. I'll put up to you for you in just a second. I'll get a few comments first. Chris Boyd, it's League One football. You don't get the finished article. They get snapped up at a higher level. Mix and match is the name of the game at this level. Get the best quality you can and mould them. Lee Bayliss, he did it at Morecambe. So frustrated with him there. They gave a goal away. Stina wanted him overlapping and he wouldn't do it. No idea why. Carl Brooks, Edwards is like no one else we have. Beats a play with ease. He's so exciting. Just needs to work on his end product. McKenna will help his game so much. Jeremy with a great joke about Cavani being out of contact at United. Might be a little bit out of our pro range, I think, but you never know. Matt Stannard, I like Thompson myself. Needs to work on final ball, but Saturday got forwards. Doesn't have anyone overlapping like Burns and Danassian. Craig at Portsmouth. Wickham converted a beater from being a winger, and now he's one of the best in the division in that role. Thompson, Penney. Felixstowe Blues on Monday's show commented. He said Penney is better than Thompson. You've both got Thompson in your lineups. So I both think you want to answer that with no. Thompson's better than Penney. But why is Thompson better than Penney in your opinion? Tell Felixstowe Blues what you think. I'll let you go first, Tux. Thompson better than Penney or Penney better than Thompson?
Well, I mean, to answer your point with me putting Thompson in the team, I think my team is based on what I think McKenna will go for. However, that's not necessarily to say that Thompson is better than Penney. The only reason why Penney came on in the second half against Cambridge was because he can actually cross a ball, albeit he didn't really get that many crosses into the box, if I'm honest. But you know, the basis of it is that he's a better crosser of the ball. So you know, when you had Norwood and Bonn in the middle, the next logical step really is probably to get someone that was able to cross the ball and get it in the box, essentially. But I think both, defensively are quite poor.
Okay.
Thompson, I think, is better defensively than going forward. Vice versa, I think, with kind of Penney. But it depends, I guess, really what the opposition is. And like that's what McKenna sort of does at the moment, is he picks his players based on the opposition. However, he hasn't really changed the back five, so to speak, all that much. So I wonder whether, you know, sort of between now and the end of the season, you might see the likes of Penney coming in and, you know, at least get given some sort of a chance under McKenna to see what he's like and whether he wants to keep him. I don't think he will be here next year, but he might be if he gives him a chance.
I really desperately, Curtis, want to fuse these players if I could, because Matt Penney is what I want Thompson to be going forward, and Dominic Thompson is what I want Matt Penney to be going backwards.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think I have Thompson in my team.
Oh, do you not? My mistake. I do apologise.
I think nor do I even have Penney in my team. To be honest, I do understand what you mean. Like you say, with Penney, you've got a very good attacking outlet, and with Thompson, you've got a very good defensive unit. But the problem is, when you want to merge those two together, they come at a decent price. But then again, come this summer, it's not beyond our realms of possibility now that we will get a player like that who will fulfill both roles, not just attacking but defensive wise. Whereas we'd probably have to settle for the like of Penney or Thompson next season, where we know that quality is lacking in a certain area of the pitch. So yeah, it's relatively annoying. But for me, these 5 games, let's face it, we've all been clinging on to some shred of hope that we would do something this season. And now that whilst it's not mathematically dead in the water, I think we can all agree that now's the time for possible experimentation, which I think it has to be done over the next 5 games. See who can cut it with us. See who makes a mark and goes into the summer with it, and that's why I don't have Thompson in my team.
I think I would say on that point as well that, you know, I think we look at the current left backs we've got. Yeah, obviously, like Thompson's going to play because he's coming on loan. It's McKenna's type of player, I suppose. But I think if I look at it, and I think I'm not a massive fan of square pegs, round holes type players anyway, but I'd rather have KVY over any of those kind of left backs at the moment, and that's purely just because he gives. I don't know. He's completely lost it for me.
He's gone down the Emir Hughes route. You out there?
Yeah. But I mean, that's the problem now. It's, you know, you're not going to get ahead of obviously Burns, are you? But I mean, you know, the way back really for KVY is probably to be a left back potentially, and then wait his turn, I suppose, for a right back slot. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather have him there because he gives you that bit of energy going forward. The only thing is that obviously he doesn't really have that balance because he's not naturally left-footed. But he played there for Cole U, and I thought he did reasonably well for them when he played there. So, you know, for me, that's who I would probably put ideally in there between now and the end of the season. And then you've got to look at in the new season at bringing in a proper left wing back that's going to play that role consistently. I thought it was always a bit of a shame about Coulson, if I'm honest, because I thought he would be quite a good signing.
I agree.
And it's a shame that he never kind of stayed fit. And I don't know how he's getting on at Peterborough, but yeah, it's a shame.
Absolutely. Great point from Stephen Parrish. I think I'll raise in just a second. Carl Brooks, we can't have 2 wing backs as offensive as Burns. We'd be left so short. With 3 centre backs? And I'm not sure about that, Carl, but great point. And vulnerable for the counter, hence why we transition to a back form we attack. JD goes right back, Thompson goes left back to Botic. I agree. KVY starts left wing back next season. He needs a run of those last. Thing is, though, if that was going to happen, Tux, that'd be happening right now, wouldn't it? KVY, you know.
Well, I mean, Thompson came in, didn't he? KVY was playing left wing back at the time, and then Thompson was signed in on loan. So obviously, you know, McKenna doesn't think KVY is the answer there. I know it's a bit of a short-term sort of thing anyway, but yeah, that's probably the reason why I brought him in.
We are Sven Goran Eriksson's England. Where's Danny Mills when you need him to play at left back? Because we had that problem for England for so many years, where who was going to play on the left side? Right, we've got Stephen Parry's fantastic point. We've got player connections, 1 to 11 score predictions. Stephen Parry says, "Don't agree. Ending the season well is more important to next season than experimentation." So after a quick word from our partners, I'm going to want you both to answer that. Is it more important to end the season well and as high as you possibly can? Or is it more important now to experiment? Maybe get back at some game time. Maybe have Simpson prove himself after, what's gone on, whatever's gone on. Or is it more important to finish the season well? Answer that in just 30 seconds.
Hello, you lovely lot. I am here very quickly to discuss Woodpecker Mortgages and Protection, run by Ipswich Town fan Graham. So you're in good hands if you go with Woodpecker Mortgages and Protection. I want to discuss the income protection service they do with you. You all know me and you all know my story. Literally, one day I went out into that big wide world, the scary world, and I had an injury which left me disabled and unable to work. Just like that, I lost my income. Just like that. That's a click there. Crazy. This may have been an answer to a prayer, because obviously when you can't work, you can't earn. And when you can't earn, your bills are still going to be there wanting to be paid, like children needing to be fed. This could have been an answer to my prayer and taken some stress away from me and let me focus on my mental and physical health. Income protection insurance, it's not for everybody, but it might be for you. So give Graham a call on 01636 337 447 or email graham@woodpeckermortgages.co.uk. And I must say, your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage. You know it makes sense, you lovely people.
Right, Tux, Curtis, Stephen Parry's point. Is it more important to finish the season well, or do you want to be experimenting, seeing Baggett and co? Tux, what do you think on that one? Kurt, I'll come to you next.
I think I would like to see, until it's mathematically possible, I think we'd still continue what we're doing. However, you've got to look at it at some point between now and the end of the season to give some players a chance who McKenna essentially wants to keep within mind of next season. So I would be playing those players, and if that pisses off players that are here on loan, i.e. a Bon or whoever it might be, then fine, because the future of this club matters more than someone's ego for me.
Good point. Great point.
So I would be looking at playing the players that are going to be here for next season, that care about the club, who want to be a part of the club going forward. If they then end up getting sold in the summer, fine. But if at this point they want to play, they don't want to down tools because they don't see the season really fizzling into anything, then I'd be playing those players that want to play. The only thing I would say is that, the last few managers we've had, the last kind of few seasons we've had, we've sat here and we thought, well, we're not really going to be doing a lot this season because it's, mathematically possible or whatever else that we can't get in the playoffs. So we have that kind of gap before the end of the season where we think, this is a longer pre-season. We've seen that with Paul Cook. We've seen that with Paul Lambert, right? What's happened there? What have they seen, and how have we improved that? Because for me, it's not worked. So that's my only sort of concern with it, is that everyone says, well, he's going to have more time with the players, he's going to have more time on the training ground, he'll have a longer pre-season. But that's not materialised under probably at least 2 or 3 managers. So that's what my sort of worry with it is at the moment. But yeah, in answer to your question, I would be looking at playing players that want to be here next season, and that want to be given a chance. And maybe that's players like Piggott. I'm not Piggott's biggest fan whatsoever, but if he's going to be here next season, if he's going to be a part of McKenna's plans, play him, see what he's like. I'd rather do that than play someone maybe even like a Nord. And I love Nord. I think he's a great player. But if you don't want to be here next season, see you later.
Yeah, or he's not in the plan. I think your worries are founded. Because of past experiences. Good points there. Curtis, you want to add on to what Tux has said there?
Well, for me, it doesn't really matter whether we experiment or finish the season well or not. We have solidified that 9th place position now for the last fucking 10 years.
The whole season.
So for me, you may as well experiment, because we ain't moving. we ain't moving. We have made that position our own. So I don't know. For me, it's not about testing youth players. I mean, as you said, like only just before, you saw Baggett getting put through his paces. He's clearly gonna. Well, you'd like to imagine he's gonna get some minutes if they are doing that with him. It's not about testing these players who may or may not be good enough. McKenna's given me no reason. He's given me no reason not to trust him and with what he's doing. Yes, the other day it might not have been great to watch. I think that was possibly his first proper mistake he's made in terms of team selection. But again, like look at the zone prize. So the story of this second season is that we've been playing certain players because they got credit in the bank, e.g. Macaulay Bonne, who is easily just. I mean, if that man's still got credit in the bank, I'd love to know who he's with. I'd love to know who he's with because
still.
It might be, but I mean, what is it now? 20 odd games without a goal. 20 odd games without a goal, whilst others around him, like e.g. your Burns, even Chaplin, who's been slowly making their way up to him. I mean, that's the way it is. But we can't keep going off credit in the bank. As Tuck says, I think you've got to start looking at players who possibly want to be here next season. And I don't know. I think for me, I think experimentation is always fun to see. We know that we're going to be in this league next year. And I'm not saying chuck a bunch of 18-year-old lads in the team. I'm not saying revamp the whole team. But these players that I'm talking about have actually been spoken about by McKenna, like e.g. Albie Armin, Humphreys. Like these are players that have been given good reviews from the manager. And if they're getting good reviews off the manager, then I have no reason not to trust his view. And if he wants to give them minutes, whether that be starting them, giving them 45 in the next few games, I'm all for it. It might actually give that end of the season a bit more excitement because we obviously, as fans, we like to see these players come in and do well. But then the only way we're going to see if they ever do well in the team is if they actually get given minutes. But I don't believe this whole end the season on a high and then it's great for next season because there's a massive amount of weeks between the end of the season and the next season. You all come in fresh, and then if you have a good pre-season, that's what rolls into the next season. Now for me, it's just about experimentation and seeing who's fit enough and who's good enough to play in his team next year for me.
Cameron Humphreys, I feel a little bit sorry for Tux because there's an enormous amount of pressure suddenly building around him because, people are going to say, let's see him. Some people are going to say, let's not see him. But regardless, when you do see him, you're always going to have that, he's one of our best midfielders at the football club ringing in your ears. And there's now that little bit of expectation around him, isn't there?
Mm. Well, I mean, as much as, Kieran Dyer was very honest in his interview recently, he hasn't really helped, actually, the academy in terms of putting even more pressure onto it. So when these players then do finally make their debut, they're going to be judged. I mean, they're going to be judged anyway. But
you're expecting bigger things, aren't you? I mean, you got to be from Cameron Humphreys because you've been told by a club legend that he, one of the best players at the football club.
Exactly, yeah. So that's not really helped his cause at all. But also, McKenna's not daft. He will, I think, introduce him again under his kind of tenure at a point where he feels he can do that. And, I'd be very surprised if we don't see him before the end of the season. But, those type of players you would probably want to put in, for a game or come on as a sub maybe or something like that. But I wouldn't I think in previous years, going back a long time, at the end of the seasons, we would put all the kids out and, see what they're like. But I don't think that really actually helps because it's the end of the season. There's nothing really much to play for. That's not really a pressured situation. You want to actually feel it when you're actually playing for something. And you can only get so much of that in an under 23 game or reserve league, what you want to call it, because you need to play games. That's why players go out on loan, because they need to get that kind of experience. So, yeah, I mean, I yes, in regards to your point, I do feel a little bit sorry for him, but he's the one who's causing this talk because obviously he seems to be quite a good player. You don't get talked about if you shit. So,
well, okay, well, I can think of some players instantly. We've got Stephen Parry. We agree to disagree. I can see the odd sub appearance, but we're trying to build a team. If we end badly, it might make players we're looking at question coming as a big sell. I think prize money. I'm not sure what that is in League One in terms of position, but obviously there'll be some type of escalation for how high you finish per prize money. You've got the habit of winning football games. So I can see the pros, see the cons from both sides of the argument. You said the word daft there. It made me think of something I should have mentioned at the start of the show, so do apologise. But one of our viewers, Jonathan Hammond, a great guy, he is doing a Tour of Suffolk Cycle Challenge on June the 12th. That's why it's daft. I mean, taking part apparently is Simon Milton, Matt Holland, Terry Butcher, Russell Osman. Is that participants? That's what it says here. I'll show you the screen. Jonathan Hammond. There you go. That is his Just Giving page. If you would like to support Jonathan Hammond in this, I will put the link in the chat now. He is looking to raise £900. He is at 340. It's a great cause. He's a guy that watches this regularly. Really helped me at Cambridge when I had that issue. So if you can, please do consider it. But Jonathan, you're daft, mate. Are you a cyclist, Kurt?
No, you'll never see me on a bicycle. My arse is too big. So, you'll never see me on a bike. If anything, you might catch me on a brisk jog, but that's about it.
How about you, Tux?
I did think about joining up for this, if I'm honest. But yeah, for whatever reason I didn't. But yeah.
Why didn't you? What, just out of interest, why didn't you?
I don't know, to be honest with you. It probably doesn't really help. I don't have a bike currently.
That's a big issue, I think, on a cycle ride. Yeah, it's like going cruising on a Friday night when you were 17, 18 without a car. You know what you're gonna do? Yeah, it just doesn't work, does it? Okay, Jonathan, good luck with it. Hopefully, we'll get Tux doing it again next year. I think he's daft, personally. I can't imagine anything worse. As Colin says, Jonathan is a legend, and he's got great taste in burgers as well. Away day beers. Cycled to Tremoso a couple of years ago. What a stupid idea that was. Right, player connections. 2 players that have played for Shrewsbury and Ipswich. We did this last week. What it is, you've got 60 seconds to guess who type. You can ask me who they've played for, what their career accomplishments are, how many games they've played, anything you like. I'll try and give you as many answers as I possibly can. I'll let you go first, Tux, because you were here last week and you've already got a little bit of experience in the game. But this player has played for Shrewsbury and Ipswich. 60 seconds on the clock. Go.
What year is he from?
He played for Ipswich between 85 and 95.
Oh, fucking hell, I don't know. It's way before my time. Not a clue. I haven't got a clue. Literally, I've not got a clue.
All right, I'll get another one.
Can I find a friend? Can I find Colin?
Can you? Yeah, well, Colin would probably know this, to be fair. Yeah. Let's be honest, because Colin knows a lot of things about Ipswich. In fact, I think he's actually writing a book. But I will just find you another one. Give me a moment. It was David Linnigan, for those that are playing at home.
Never fucking heard of him. Never heard of him.
You've never heard of David Linnigan? Shocking, Tux. Right, here we go. You got another one. Here it is. Let me restart the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, what year?
Between 13 and 14.
What position?
Striker.
How many goals did he score?
How many goals did he score? For Ipswich?
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia, 0.
You
can ask me anything. Previous clubs, accomplishments.
Yeah, previous clubs.
He has played for, obviously, Shrewsbury, but he's also played for Plymouth.
Conor Grant.
Nope, not Conor Grant. You got one more guess. You can ask me anything you want. Goals, accomplishments, other careers, where he started, how tall he is.
Where did he start?
He started his career at Man United between 04 and 06 for a loan move to Royal Antwerp.
Oh, Lee Martin.
Not Lee Martin. Curtis?
I've got a clue.
Tyrone Barner.
Sylvan Ebanks Blake.
Fucking hell.
What a great tune for a Sunday. Na. Sylvan Ebanks Blake. Sylvan Ebanks Blake. Right, Curtis, your one. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is your player. 3, 2, 1, go.
When did he play for us?
He played for us. It was a loan deal in the year 18-19.
Position.
Defender.
How many appearances?
Appearances for
Us?
Ipswich. 30. Tux knows.
Specific position?
Well, you can play anywhere across the back four, but for us, it was centre half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can ask me anything. Other teams, where he started, is he still playing, age, whatever you need to know.
Is he playing currently in the Football League?
He is, for Shrewsbury.
Oh, I'm completely dumbfounded.
It's not Colin Carter-Vickers, as Stephen Parry says.
Other clubs?
Other clubs. He played for Tranmere on loan, Coventry on loan, and he's also been at Everton.
No, not a chance.
Tux?
Pennington.
Absolutely. Carl Brook got it as well. Matthew Pennington. Would you have signed him, Tux, had he stayed fit?
At the time, yes, I would have, yeah. Because I thought he was a decent player for us. And yeah, I mean, a lot of them were all toss in that season, but
they were.
I thought he was a bit of a shining star in that.
The original one I had for you, Curtis, was Louis Donowa. But I figured... I figured if Tux doesn't know David Linnigan, then no offence, Curtis probably isn't going to.
I should have known Pennington. I'm quite disappointed in myself with that.
Hey, it happens. I think this game, the more you play it, the better you get with the questions, because the questions are what really gets you the where you need to get to. But I think it's a nice bit of fun. So that is Shrewsbury versus Town. That's what we're here for. 1-11 score predictions. Let's go with yours first of all, Tux. Here it comes on the screen. Talk me through what you've gone for, because you mentioned McCauley by an earlier part of the show, and now you're going to put him in the team. What's going on?
Yeah, I have, and I think for me, this is kind of like the sort of last ride for him, in my opinion, because I think from this point onward, we kind of do need to look at kind of the players that's going to be here next season. I'm not saying Bond might not be that, but I'd be very surprised if he is, because I don't think he's going to be here next year. I don't think McKenna fancies him, but I think you've got to play the players that you think is your best team, and I think currently at the moment maybe this is our best team. I think the only sort of real area of confusion maybe is probably the striker, whether that's Bond or Wood Piggott, whoever it might be.
Yeah,
but otherwise, sort of picks itself at the moment for me.
Chaplin and Selena in your team, Tux. You a fan of them two together? I'm still yet to be convinced they can play as a tandem.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not massively convinced by, them two starting together. I like them both individually. I think Selena could be a bit more consistent, but when Chaplin's played, I've always been, pretty impressed with him. I think he's going to be a good player for us next year. I'd like to see Selena return next year, but I think for me, I think it's all going to be based on the kind of quality that we could potentially get through the door, through, Martin Pert's kind of connections, McKenna's connections. We could get much better quality, really. And the only real sort of issue I've had with Selena is just he hasn't produced on a consistent basis, and I think a lot of the fan base are thinking that, really. But yeah, I mean, both of them together, inconsistent, isn't it? Really.
Would you sign him? Because it's a real issue, isn't it? If you're going to devote all those resources to bringing back Selena, that you've got a player already on the contract that they don't really work well together. That's an issue for me, Tux.
Yeah, I know, I agree. But as I say, I think it all bases it down on the kind of quality that's available at the moment. And I think if we had have got Selena earlier in the season, we probably wouldn't have seen maybe the likes of Fraser or even Chaplin, maybe, I don't know. But I think, he came in at such a late time, and I think there was players that came in his position, but we just wanted to sign him for that genuine quality. And I don't really want us to repeat that going forward. If we want Selena, let's get him, and then build the team around important players. But yeah, as I say, I think if I had to pick, I probably would pick maybe Chaplin over Selena. But yeah, I've gone with those two to start against Shrewsbury. As much as it hasn't really worked for them, they should really play well against Shrewsbury, if I'm honest.
Lee Anderson says, Tux, you Judas, what's wrong with Norwood?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'll be honest with you. I think after listening to the show the other night, I think Callie said it a few times as well, where Norwood is probably at a point now in his career where he's 31, 32. Does he want to be here? I'm not too sure. So as I say, I'm a massive fan of Norwood, and I think he's the best striker at the club. But if you don't want to be here, then it's pointless playing, if I'm honest. So yeah.
All right, Curtis. Your lineup is here. You have gone talk us all through it, Curtis. What are you thinking here, my friend?
So we got Walton in there, obviously, and then I've actually brought KVY back from the dead. I've brought him back in at left back. Wolfenden, Burgess in the middle, Donatian, Sam Morsey back instead in the middle, because I'm not sure why we ever actually changed that up in the last game. Selena on the wing with Burns on the other side, and then I've decided to just throw up a concoction up front because no other method has worked recently. So I'm willing to just try anything at this point in time just to get some kind of goals in the team. And as I say, I think now is the time for experimentation. So yeah, I think KVY for me, I've brought him in mainly because I'm looking at players who I think will be here next year. I do think KVY has more of a chance of being here than Thompson does. Although I do think McKenna likes him, I just think we might be looking at better quality. And I just want it to work out so much for KVY, and I'm willing it so much. It might never happen, but I think for me, I just think he offers more of an attacking outlet on that left-hand side. I don't want to play Selena and Chaplin in the same team because I just don't think it works. As much as I'd love it to work, I don't think it works. That's why I've gone for Selena there. And I think Tyree Simpson, I just think he needs to. I do think he needs to be given a chance. Everyone else has fluffed it. Everyone else has fluffed it up front. So why not give him a chance? And in terms of Joe Pigott, again, I think he's another one who will be wanting to stay here next season just because of the size of the club we are, and I do think he will want to prove a point. As bad as it's gone for him this year, it's just been an absolute mess. I'm just willing to give him a chance, and if two up front hopefully would work, then that's what I'm going to go for with that.
So you've gone for a formation change then?
I have, yeah.
Just because, or
I think with nothing to play for, I think now it's time just to see who shines. Really, I don't believe that if we were to have a formation change, we'd go on this horrendous run again. Because why would we have gone from 13, whatever it was, unbeaten, to then going on this weird 5-game winless streak? I just don't think it would happen. I think this team is more professional than that. And like I say, experimentation is fine for me at this point of the season. Nothing to play for, and in terms of higher bonuses for where you finish, I can't imagine the difference between 9th and 7th or 10th to 7th is going to be that difference in that bigger difference in price. So for me, it's about instilling that bit of excitement, seeing a few maybe new players that you've not seen this year, or just seeing the rejuvenation of players like your KVY, seeing whether they can actually prove a point. And yeah, that's why I've gone for it, to be honest, because there's nothing to play for now. As much as everyone says we can finish on a high, this and so it's just nothing to play for. So for me, the excitement's in just seeing how well certain players play now who we possibly haven't seen yet. That's why I've gone for this team.
I think the winner of League One gets about 2 million. So yeah, it's not going to be a huge amount of money. Tux, I don't know what to say to Curtis. What do you think of his lineup?
I think if I looked at the kind of the strikers, I think he's going to stick with kind of the formation that he's been playing throughout. Really, I can't really see him changing, that amount of changes, I suppose. But the strikers that you've put in there, I think I'd be very surprised to see Simpson play at all this season, based on kind of what the sort of current fallout is with the club at the moment. I know Ashton said that he's kind of there to be picked, but is this kind of another repeat of Norwood in a way where he's not going to play? So yeah, I'd be surprised if I see him. I think the whole Pigott thing, I'd like to see maybe him give him one sort of last chance if he is in kind of McKenna's plans. But otherwise, I think I'm just trying to think what the team was again. So
I could
You
put it on
know,
the screen. It's an interesting one. You've got Walton in goal, KV White right back, Donatian at left back, Wolfenden and Burgess.
I purely wouldn't play Donatian left back ever again after the trial performance.
Donatian is at right back. KVY is at left
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Selena and Burns, Morsey back. I mean, it's brave. Ant still doesn't like two big men up front. Tux.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it sort of really suits either of our sort of forwards really to have two up top. I think Bond works better as a lone striker. I think Norwood works sometimes better as a lone striker. If any of the strikers work better in there too, it probably would be Norwood alongside maybe a Jackson. But those type of players, I think Simpson and Piggott are different types of players.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see any of them kind of running in behind each other. That's kind of the typical sort of work that you would do as a two up top. But I don't know. It's frustrating with these strikers because you look at it at the start of the season. On paper, you'd think we've got the best strike force in the league.
I agree.
And then now looking at it, and some of them are struggling to score, struggling for confidence. And it is, being a striker is a confidence thing, isn't it? If you've got confidence, you're banging goals. If you haven't got the confidence, you can't hit a bundle with a banjo. So it is unfortunately the way of the world with a striker. But yeah, I think, as I said earlier, we've got to play the strikers that want to be here for next season, that McKenna wants to build his team around. And I appreciate it's difficult at the moment because if none of them are in his plans, it's difficult to do that. But otherwise, that might be a time to give someone like a Simpson a try or a Piggott a try.
How many goals has Norwood got this year?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I'll have a quick look because I just wrote down the strikers: Norwood, Jackson, Piggott, Bond. They're the four, right? Norwood, Jackson, Piggott, and Bond. I would have had them at the start of the year anywhere between 35 to 40 goals. Jackson would have got 5 for me as the fourth option at the start of the season, but you would have expected at least 10 from each of the other three, and you just haven't.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure if I would say that the other strikers would probably be getting 10. I think if you've got a striker that's playing well, you continue to play that striker like Bond was at the start of the season. Hence why Piggott couldn't get in the team and didn't score goals. But then there comes an issue when none of your strikers are scoring, none of them are playing well, so then you can't hang your hat on any of them. So really, that's when you show your quality, that you can come in, you can essentially sort of play and get goals. But none of them seem to even want to do that or look like they're going to do that. So yeah, very frustrating.
That said, Kurt, James Norwood, 4 goals this year. You would have had him on more goals had we done this in the summer. 4 strikers. I think we will this summer. We'll do it this summer with the strikers that are here because he scored more, I think around 10 goals each of the last couple of campaigns, even with the dodgy groin. So it has been bad, hasn't it, for goals?
And that's the reason behind the random concoction up front that I've gone for is because I mean, whilst Bond claimed that shirt in the first half of the first quarter of the season, like whilst he claimed that shirt, no one else has took it apart from Jackson, where he came in and had a few good games and staked a claim, and then unfortunately got injured. No one's really took the chance with it. For me, that's why I put Simpson in. Yes, I know his contract's an issue and blah blah blah, but the players like that, they come in with a bit of vigor, they come in with a bit of enthusiasm, wanting to prove a point, and to basically stick if it means he has to stick to prove a point, to stick 2 fingers up, whoever, then fair dues. If that's what gives him the extra fire in his belly, a la Norwood at Wigan, I've got no problem with it. But it's shown in recent weeks that whether we try Bond from, I mean, for the as much as I like Bond, the guy doesn't understand the offside rule. The amount of games he plays and the amount of offsides he's got, it's just unbelievable. And then Norwood, unfortunately, for whatever reason, injuries and not being picked, it's just been a very up and down season. Our attacking options, whilst they look amazing on paper, in actual fact, it's been quite poor, and that is why there is a very random concoction on my team, because I'm willing to try anything just to see if something clicks. If something clicks and something produces a goal, because it's just it's just about trying new things. And I think if we keep trying with Bon, who again is without a goal in 20 odd games, what is he going to? He could go another 5 games, and that's another 20 odd games. It'll end up about another 26 games that he's gone without a goal. Doesn't help us, doesn't help him. So stop his rot by stopping him playing. He's not going to be ours next season. I doubt we'll very much go in for him. So stop his rot by stopping him playing. It's not going to do him any good for going more games without a goal. It's just going to hammer his confidence. So for me, you play the players that might give you that renewed sense of optimism within themselves. Yeah, so that's why for me.
I think something that probably hasn't helped is that, you know, McKenna coming in sort of part way through the season, he doesn't understand what his best kind of like partnership or lone striker is. So, you know, chopping and changing here and there probably doesn't actually do the world of good for someone who like Norwood, who at the time was the main striker, scoring goals under McGreal, you know, those kind of things. Then McKenna's coming in with his own kind of, you know, essentially his own ideas. He fancied Jackson and stuff like that. So then when you've been then shunted out of the team, Bond's probably the same. Your confidence drops, and then, you know, I think if Jackson was still, you know, fit and playing well, then he would obviously be in the team still, wouldn't he? So we wouldn't really have this argument. He might have scored more goals, but yeah, it's that's some of the issue is that, you know, it's very much that it's a lot of chopping and changing, unfortunately.
Okay, right. We've evaded it long enough. Score predictions. I've seen 7-0 from Jeremy Lowe in the chat. I'm not quite sure it'll be 7, but Curtis, what would your score be for this weekend as we round up tonight's show?
I think it's going to be 1-0 us.
1-0 to Ipswich Town Football Club. I'll take that. And you'll join me Saturday for the match day ticket with Coxie. Tux, this weekend, Shrewsbury. Score prediction, please, sir.
Game full of goals. So I'm going to go for a 0-0.
I hope not. I hate 0-0.
I generally think it will probably be a 0-0, to be honest with you. I think our strikers are kind of shot to pieces with confidence at the moment. Defensively, we're sort of pretty sound. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 0-0.
Depressing. Stephen Parry, we went to 5 to tighten up as we were open as a bucket with a hole in with 4, and it worked. We need to figure out how to score now. There have been too many changes. As I said, K-Mac don't trust them. It's about the strikers. Lee Bayliss, I was one, but he's got himself back and scored 4 and 4, but he set up a goal last week to Morsey. Not sure if Norsey will be here, but what we are crying out for and what the owners expect. 2-0, says Carl. Top Shagger Brooks. 0-0, Rob Smith. Stephen Parry, 2-0. Lee Bayliss, 2-1. Mark Dowling, who will join me on Friday's show with Cruncher, 8:30 for the press conference final look ahead. 2-0. Piggott to score. Stephen Parry, Chaplin, and Morsey. We are back Friday, 8:30. We have the Rotherham away day guide tomorrow with myself and Amy at 8:30. That is a recorded show that we are broadcasting because it's half term where she is and she's enjoying time with her family. But tonight's show is in the history books. Tux, you are moving house. Good luck with the move, my man. When is that all going through?
Well, I think hopefully it'll be sort of towards the end of April. So we're looking like sort of 20th of April, hopefully. So we're all sort of just waiting for a moving date. So yeah. Enjoy.
We'll have to get you a pot plant. That's traditional moving in present.
Thank you.
Curtis, as always, thank you for standing at thelastminute.com. And I'm looking forward to Saturday afternoon with Mr. Happy on the platform. He's smiling. He's smiling, ladies and gentlemen. We've got him smiling, but we're done. We're dusted. With love, with care, you can support us through Ko-Fi, become a YouTube member. Even Tux is waving. Look at this. It has been a good show.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted.